First of all, is there a difference between cinema and movies? Yeah. The simplest way that I can describe it is a movie is something you see, and cinema is something that's made. Cinema is a specificity of vision. It's an approach in which everything matters. It's the polar opposite of generic or arbitrary, and the result is as unique as a signature or a fingerprint. But the problem is that cinema, as I define it, and as something that inspired me, is under assault by the studios, and from what I can tell, with the full support of the audience. The reasons for this, in my opinion, are more economic than philosophical. There are fewer and fewer executives who are in the business because they love movies. There are fewer and fewer executives that know movies. You've got people who don't know movies, don't watch movies for pleasure, deciding what movie you're going to be allowed to make. And that's one reason studio movies aren't better than they are, and it's one reason that cinema, as I'm defining it, is shrinking. Obviously, the bigger the budget, the more people this thing is going to have to appeal to, the more homogenized it's got to be, the more simplified it's got to be. Action, adventure, science fiction, fantasy, spectacle. And unfortunately, the most profitable movies for the studios are the big movies, the home runs. They don't look at the singles and the doubles as being worth the money or the man-hours. So things like cultural specificity, narrative complexity, and God forbid ambiguity, those become real obstacles to the success of the film here and abroad. Point of entry for a mainstream wide release movie, $30 million. That's where you start. Now you add another 30 for overseas. Now you got to remember, the exhibitors take half of the gross. So to get that 60 back, you've got to gross 120. You would think, in terms of spending, if you have one of these, big franchise sequels, that you would say, oh, we don't have to spend as much money because, is there anyone in the galaxy that doesn't know Iron Man's opening on Friday? So you would think, oh, we can stop carpet bombing with TV commercials. It's exactly the opposite. They spend more. We want to make sure that opening weekend number is big so that the perception of the movie is that it's a huge success. Admissions, 10 years ago, 1.52 billion. Last year, 1.36 billion. It's a 10.5% drop. In 2003, 455 films released. 275 of those were independent, 180 were studio films. Last year, 677 films released. So you're not imagining things. There are a lot of movies opening every weekend. 549 of those were independent, 128 were studio films. So a 100% increase in independent films and a 28% drop in studio films. And yet, 10 years ago, studio market share 69%, last year 76%. So you got fewer studio movies now taking up a bigger piece of the pie, and you've got twice as many independent films scrambling for a smaller piece of the pie. When a studio is attempting to determine on a project-by-project basis what will work, instead of backing a talented filmmaker over the long haul, they're actually increasing their chances of choosing wrong. If I were going to run a studio, I would just be gathering the best filmmakers I could find and sort of let them do their thing within certain economic parameters. You go, okay, look, I'm going to let you make 3 movies over 5 years. I'm going to give you this much money in production costs. I'm going to dedicate this much money in marketing. You can sort of apportion it any way you want. You can spend it all on one and none on the other 2. But, go make something. Make something good, ambitious, something beautiful, something memorable. Whenever I despair, I think, okay, somebody out there somewhere, while we're sitting right here, somebody out there somewhere is making something cool. We need to tell stories. We need to tell stories to pass along ideas and information and to try and make sense out of all this chaos.
Man, we would not take it anymore.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Okay, kids, back to one.
Okay.
For the longest time, there was just this darkness. And all of a sudden, thousands of Robins were set free.
At the end of this day, this is a movie about hope.